Hey everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and I just finished a playthrough of Scarlet Keys on the channel, where I was playing Charlie Kane as my main cleaver. I went into it with very low expectations for him. He has a terrible base stat line, bad base soak, and an ability that gives him icons to pass tests. To some degree, that makes him a lot like Calvin. He's got the same soak, a similarly terrible stat line, he has the promise of having stats eventually so he can do stuff, and much like Calvin, you're playing assets in a way where the assets are just fixing your problem, the bad stat line, and you're getting to a point where, much like Calvin, I don't see anything fundamentally strong about the character unless you can find a specific combination of cards that's only available to them, and then you can break the character wide open. And I think that's actually true. I think, generally speaking, Charlie's probably not that much better than Calvin unless your deck combines some cards that shouldn't all be in the same place. And this deck does. I think when you talk about Charlie, you have to talk about what version of Charlie you had. I'm playing Seeker 2, Survivor 2, and I'm using my ally access for Summoned Hounds and Leo DeLuca. And the goal of this deck is to run Summoned Hounds and Chance Encounters to avoid the downside of the Summoned Hound with the best draw package in the game, because Seeker Survivor draws like no other. I played 3 Seeker Survivors in the past week. I did the Scarlet Keys playthrough over 2 days for the channel. Off the channel, I just finished Dreamside and Dream Eaters as men, and off the channel, we're about to play the finale of Webside as Daryl. I've played this exact shell over here, all this stuff, 3 different times, and it's an incredibly fast shell. You get a wonderful Practice Makes Perfect where you're running 6-card Unrelenting for more draw. You get 2 copies of Deep Knowledge thanks to Out of Crossroads being printed, which is really just the red Deep Knowledge. You have so much draw and so much tempo as a cleaver. It's incredibly powerful. And this helps out Charlie a lot. All of these cards are obviously good in him, but the sheer amount of draw that Seeker Survivor gives him lets him set up combos like no one else. Out of Crossroads, draws 3, Deep Knowledge, draws 3, upgraded Emergency Cache is 1. We're not going to count the idea that you duplicate Perceptions or Unrelenting. We're just going to assume that on average, Practice Makes Perfect only gets you 1 card. Preposterous Sketches originally weren't in the deck, but I bought them when I just had more experience than I knew what to do with. They draw 3, Perceptions draw 2, Take Hearts draw 2, Unrelentings draw 2. And pretty much you're gonna, on average, get pretty much exactly 2 cards with these. You'll be testing at 1,000,000 on the Perception, you'll auto-fail sometime, almost every other time you get 2 cards. Not gonna worry about trying to average out the exact numbers. You add up all the draw we're looking at. We got 6 cards, 12 cards, 14 cards, 16 cards, 24 cards, 28 cards, 32 cards, 36 cards drawn per cycle of the deck. You need Summoned Hound in your graveyard to summon him with a Chance Encounter instead of playing him normally? We're gonna get that done pretty fast, because Out of Crossroads is playing itself. Deep Knowledge is just 1 action, you need to play your economy anyway. This is fast. All of these are essentially fast. You get these cards drawn very, very quickly, and the thing that we're building towards, the thing that you can use in Charlie Kane that no one else can do, is you can run Summoned Hound alongside a Chance Encounter. Now, you might say that there is a Survivor and Mystic character. Those do exist. You could do this in Agnes. You can do this in Patrice. I was trying to figure out who the other version of that was. But the reality is those characters have stat lines that do things, so it looks a lot worse in them than Charlie Kane. Likewise, those characters don't have Seeker cards, so they have a way less draw than Charlie Kane does. Charlie Kane's terrible stat line makes Summoned Hound relatively far better than all his other options, while simultaneously, no one else that has access to this combo gets all the yellow cards that are going to be boosting it up. Hell, even things like Magnifying Glass and Milan and Luxley, to get passive book boost to stack on top of Summoned Hound, those aren't as available in red-purple. Seeker is adding so much to this that no one else gets, and also we'll just throw in Leo DeLuca because like he's kind of a good card, and we have the economy to handle him, we're going to get there, don't worry about it. And the reason I'm focusing so much on this Summoned Hound is because this is the deck. Like, I built a deck that drew more cards per cycle of the deck than there were cards in the deck, because all you need to do is discard Summoned Hound on any Investigate test or just overdraw them, that's easy enough. And then you get them back with a Chance Encounter, which puts them into play. It does not play them, which is very important because as a cost to playing them, you need to add the Unbound Beast, which will eventually kill your Hound and remove it from the game. But if you just make friends with the Hound because you found it on the street instead of binding it through rituals, which is the flavor of Chance Encounter here, then it's going to be friends with you, it's never going to betray you, and you're going to have a great time. So an average turn for this deck, once you got like past turn 5, this sets up really fast, is that you're going to have Leo DeLuca and Bonnie Walsh and 2 Summoned Hounds in play. The deck got a lot weirder towards the end. Let me go back to a more normal version of this, because like we didn't need these sketches, we didn't need this Maelson. This is really close to what I was running around the midpoint of the campaign. The only difference is I wasn't running Alice Luxie, I was running 2 Milans, but because you always exhaust Milan for your ability anyway, because you just need the numbers, like, he's giving you +2. That's generally more valuable than 1 resource. So that just makes him worse than Alice Luxley because he has worse soak, and they cost the same. However, you actually want to run 1 of each just because you might draw both, and then you don't want to get messed up by not being able to play both because you so desperately need allies in play. This is a much lower experience version of the deck. We haven't upgraded deductions. There's no random repository sketches. We aren't running the silly Abigail Foreman combo that I haven't even got into yet. But this is the core of the deck. It's just draw cards and Summoned Hounds. And when you set up, you're going to have a book boost in play, probably several of them. I'm just going to say you have +3 book in play. So on your normal investigation actions, you're starting with 4. On Summoned Hounds, you're starting with 8. So let's imagine a normal turn at a 4-shroud location. You immediately Lightning Bolt investigate twice with Summoned Hound at 8 to 4. You don't even need to commit anything, you just win. Then you investigate 4 to 4 with Charlie Kane. You use your ability to tap Bonnie Walsh for 3. Now you're at 7 to 4. That's not quite good enough. You want to beat them -4. You ready a Summoned Hound with Bonnie Walsh, by the way. Use your ability again with Milan. Now you're at 5. That's good enough. You investigate. Your Hound's back. Lightning Bolt investigate at 8. Again, that's the 4th investigate action. And then we're out of Hounds. We get the 3 Hounds thanks to Bonnie Walsh. And what do we have left? We only need 1 investigate action. We have Leo DeLuca. We have 3 whole actions left. We probably just need to move because the location's probably done. And since we haven't used all of our allies, we can still exhaust a Leo. We can still exhaust an art student. We can do another normal investigate action for our second of 3 actions. And I guess for our last action, we can like deep knowledge one of our pleb allies or something. Like there's some card you could throw in. Oh, also you can practice makes perfect on any of those tests to pull any of these amazing cards. Do you want to draw cards? Do you want to get more clues? Like there's stuff you can practice for. It's pretty good. It doesn't take long to set that up. And however long it takes to set up, it doesn't take long to earn that tempo back. Charlie Kane ran away with the game every single scenario. There were a couple of points where I was like, oh man, I'm struggling a little bit to set up. I've drawn awkwardly. I hit multiple weaknesses early on. I didn't hit much draw. My hand's pretty empty. And even in those janky scenarios, I felt like I was set back 1 or 2 turns. The deck doesn't actually brick. It can just be delayed a little bit if you get the absolute worst draws. I think you definitely hard mulligan for Bonnie Walsh and just as much draw as you can get. You never hold the Summoned Hounds or Chance Encounter. You don't need to hold that. You'll get them eventually. You always mulligan these. You just need Bonnie Walsh because she's so important. And then you have just like as much draw as you can fit in your opening hand. You don't care about anything else because there's too many individual combo pieces to hold one of them expecting to hit more of it. Because if you hold Summoned Hound and just like hit the second Summoned Hound and no Chance Encounters, congratulations, your opening hand is just missing 2 cards, right? Like you don't want to hold combo pieces. You want as much draw as possible and Bonnie Walsh. And the deck's just built to do that and get Summoned Hound out along the way, and it just performs incredibly well. Coming back to my final version of the deck though, if you've like gotten the 25 experience core of the deck and you're still playing the game and want to do better, you can. Why play Milan for +1 book when I can play Abigail Foreman with an encyclopedia? And as 1 action, give myself +4 book for the whole turn. Only it's better than that, because you can buy the Raven Quill for 5 experience, because like, don't start with this, you can't actually get the passive experience unless you're running an encyclopedia too. It starts getting all sorts of clunky. But you can spend 5 experience, just add the Raven Quill, upgrade it 4 times, and now the encyclopedia no longer triggers any sort of opportunity attacks. You need to trip somebody? You can do that now. You need to punch somebody for 1? You can do that. It'll be fine. You need to swing dogs 4 times in 1 turn at 9? You can do that too. And the big thing is the 3-cost upgrade, where using the thing Ravenquill is attached to, the encyclopedia, readies an asset. Like the Summoned Hound giving you a 4th 5-base skill this turn, you can get a lot of value out of that. You can add more draw to the deck. There's ways to spend experience. You can always find something to make a deck better, basically. Charlie Kane's nuts. He's busted. I don't know if Charlie Kane is generally a strong investigator. I think if I weren't running Summoned Hounds, I'd have walked away from this being like, yeah, he's better than Calvin, but not that much better than Calvin. I think he'd have been a thoroughly middle-of-the-road character without Summoned Hounds. Because of Summoned Hound, though, because this deck exists, and I rate characters based on how I think they perform, if you try to get the absolute most out of them, barring infinite cycles and things that just break the game in half and are bad manners to play in a group where you're ruining the game for everyone else. Because of that, I honestly think he's one of the strongest characters in the game. I have him very high on my A+ tier right now. I have him alongside the likes of like Harvey and Daniela, because this Summoned Hound action efficiency is disgusting. Watch my playthrough of Dealings in the Dark and tell me you think Charlie Kane is okay. This guy is a juggernaut, and it's on the back of Summoned Hound. He plays like no one else, he does something entirely unique, He breaks the action economy wide open with Summoned Hounds, Leo DeLuca, and ways of readying them. Base 1s don't matter when most of your Investigates are actually base 5s. Really easily solves that problem. It's not inaccurate to say that the way this deck plays once it's set up is its stat line is 1-5-1-1. Its ability is you may move 3 times as a lightning bolt each turn. Because realistically, that's what's happening. You're investigating with the Hounds, and you use all your normal actions for pleb shit like playing emergency cache or walking. You don't actually investigate with one book. But the funny thing is, like, you have so much book boost. You have encyclopedias or just a bunch more book boosting allies, magnifying classes. You can just investigate yourself if somehow the dogs don't finish it, but usually they will. I want to see other busted builds of Charlie. I want to believe there's something else out there for him. But all the decks I've seen on ArkhamDB, other than the Summoned Hound build I saw that inspired me to change my build last second, I just didn't see anything that made me think, yeah, Charlie Kane's gonna rock the game. Summoned Hound absolutely destroyed Scarlet Keys. And Charlie Kane uniquely enabled that card. This is the home for Summoned Hound that it never had before, and I'm worried they're going to errata chance encounter and shit on specifically Charlie Kane when they do so. But honestly, I love that this build exists. I don't think it deserves to be tabooed. It's like one specific combo for a bunch of jank cards, and it's nice to see them fit together and finally have a home. I like Charlie Kane. I love this build. I think without this build, Charlie Kane's somewhere like in the middle of the pack, lower middle of the pack. But yeah, just this build is ridiculous. He destroyed the game. His weakness is very easy to play around, and as long as you don't play around it poorly and use your allies for soak, it'll be fine, because Summoned Hounds don't die to sanity damage and have 3 health. Leo's got 2-2, Bonnie's got 2-2. Like, I definitely just forgot to play around it and dealt a lot of damage to myself over the course of the campaign a couple of times. Definitely killed my share of art students by just drawing late in the turn. But as long as you generally try to draw before doing all the stuff during your turn, you're gonna be fine. The only real fear is if, like, you're in an early turn, you don't have the Hounds, you have Bonnie and Leo, and you're investigating and you have to draw with Perception. That can put you in an awkward spot. And that's another reason that Milan is worse than Luxley. Sometimes you're just going to exhaust them right before drawing into Burden of Leadership. It was unavoidable, and Milan dies, but Luxley doesn't. Anyways, Charlie Kane and the Summoned Hounds destroyed my expectations of the Scarlet Keys, crushed that campaign. Seeker Survivor is just a very good core of cards, and I'll be showing that off a lot more with deck lists in the coming days. Tomorrow, I'll be reviewing my website Daryl deck that I've been using. Daryl's even better than this Charlie Kane build. He is incredible. I'll talk about why then. After that, I'll review Min and how she's different from Daryl. And finally, I'll review Zoe. We all know Zoe is good, but after I play someone on the channel for the first time, I need to put a review of them up. And yeah, we'll talk about Zoe, talk about Runic Axe a bit more. But for now, I'm done. This has been Charlie Kane and the Summoned Hounds. It's just all the good Seeker Survivor shit and a bunch of unique allies. Oh, in early versions of the deck, I didn't really cover this. Art student, medical student, stuff like that. You just need filler allies to die to bad Mythos events. You don't want to have 4 allies and they're Bonnie, Leo, 2 Summoned Hounds, and you don't have any charismas. Because then when you get Crypt Shield, and you will get Crypt Shield, you're just losing an ally. Magnifying Glass helps with that. But then, let's say you got Rotting Remains and you need to take 3 Horror, and you're not taking that too many times yourself. Just that's why you want the bad allies. It's why you particularly want art students for the better soak. And it's why I eventually upgraded to Maelson, because he's really efficient soak. And he can also just redraw that event if I'm willing to give up a clue for it. And generally speaking, Summoned Hound gave me so much tempo, I could just accept losing some tempo on Maelson. Anyways, I've begun to ramble off topic before talking about the deck again. I'll probably go in circles forever about myself, so instead, I'm calling it here. I'm rather incoherent. Hope you enjoyed this quick deck overview of Charlie Kane. If you did, then like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff really helps the channel grow, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you in the next one, whenever that is.